We owe it to the families and the friends and the loved ones of the almost 240 people on flight MH370 to do everything we can.
We want to find these objects because they are the best lead to where we might find people to be rescued. We're still focused on that task of finding people to be rescued.
The search area is remote, the water deep, and the weather notoriously fickle. Yet the tireless effort to find flight MH370 must continue.
We've been throwing everything we've got at that area to try to learn more about what this debris might be. Now, it could just be a container that's fallen off a ship. We just don't know. But we owe it to the families and the friends and the loved ones of the almost 240 people on flight MH370 to do everything we can to try to resolve what is as yet an extraordinary riddle.
This is what the search teams are trying to find. These smudges on a satellite image could be wreckage from the missing airliner, or they might be bits of cargo discarded or fallen from a passing ship. There is only one way to know for sure. But this aviation mystery refuses to give up its secrets. The suspected wreckage is a drop in a very large and unpredictable ocean.
We want to find these objects because they are the best lead to where we might find people to be rescued. We have done some work in that area, and we're still focused on that task of finding people to be rescued.
The search is being coordinated from this Air Force base in Perth. The planes taking off in 2-hourly intervals. The weather reduced visibility yesterday, restricting the search, but today the clouds have lifted, letting the crews do their job.
We got out on station today and had really good weather actually. Compared to what we saw yesterday, the visibility was great. We had better than 10 kilometres visibility. There was no rain in the area. We had really good opportunity, I think, to see anything visual out there. And for the task that we had today, the conditions were outstanding. Unfortunately, the conditions back here precluded us from staying on station as long as we would have liked. However, there are a few other aircraft out there, some fellow P3s as well as the United States Navy P8 Poseidon. They're out there still searching, and with any luck, we'll find something shortly. We've got a lot of hope, and if the conditions remain as they are, hopefully we'll find something soon.
These aviators know they carry the hopes of hundreds. Desperate families waiting for news of their loved ones. These men and women are on the front line in the hunt for the missing jet. Every mission that returns empty-handed is followed by one that leaves with renewed hope. They're determined to find something, anything, that will lead to flight MH370.
It's certainly disappointing, and I've got every confidence that if there is an object there, that we will find it. And every time that we launch, we hold that hope. However, we're just going to keep going until we find it.
The search area is remote, 1,500 miles southwest of Perth. It involves an 8-hour round trip, leaving aircraft just 2 or 3 hours to search. The plane carrying out the bulk of the searching is the Lockheed P3 Orion. It's a 4-engine turboprop, favoured by the Australian and New Zealand Defence Forces. The plane's big advantage is that it can fly at low altitudes for long periods, crucial for an eyes-on hunt. It's equipped with a state-of-the-art radar system and 3 cameras, one infrared, one long-range, and the other high-resolution. The Orion is also equipped with a sonar system used for searching below sea level, but we understand that's not being utilised in this search. Other planes involved are a US Navy P8 Poseidon. It's designed for anti-submarine warfare. And also being used is a civilian Bombardier Global Express. But this is just a very small part of the armoury thrown at this massive international search for the lost airliner.
HMAS Success is due to reach the vicinity of the objects tomorrow. China has deployed 5 ships and 3 ship-borne helicopters, which are currently heading towards the southern corridor. Japan is deploying its assets to Perth, including 2 P-3 Orions, to assist with the Australian search efforts. And the HMS Echo is already heading towards the southern Indian Ocean to support the search effort.
But for all the talk of sophisticated assets, technology and hardware, this is very much a human tragedy. 239 people have disappeared without trace. 239 families are left waiting for answers. In Beijing, they gather like they have done every day for the past 2 weeks. The daily meetings with Malaysian airline officials have little to offer. Today, for the first time, the airline did admit it has handled part of the crisis badly. But this admission will, however, do little to ease the relatives' distress.
Since I arrived, there has been no accurate information. Every day we just wait. In the morning we might hear something new. By lunchtime it's gone. Then it's the evening. Every day the same. We ask them questions and hope they can give us precise answers. That way we might calm our nerves a bit. Unlike now, our emotions are all up in the air. We want them to give more accurate information and win more time for the search and rescue, to find our lost ones as soon as possible.
Their frustration stems from confusion. The seemingly conflicting information breeds doubt and undermines the investigation's credibility.
AMSA's Rescue Coordination Centre Australia has received satellite imagery of objects possibly related to the search for the missing aircraft flight MH370.
This dramatic development was seen as a real breakthrough, the first tangible lead in the 2-week-old mystery. But it has since emerged that the images were taken on March the 16th. That means the objects could by now have drifted far from their original site.
Well, if this debris was on land, it would still be exactly where it was photographed, but it's not. It's in the southern Indian Ocean. It's September now. There are currents, there's wind, so it will have moved. And that means that any search that's going on now will not be looking at the exact location the photographs were taken, but some location downstream, if you like. And that's going to add to difficulty. In addition to that, because of the time that's passed, this debris might have sunk. It might not actually be there. And so how long will they search for until they decide, well, it's not even there?
The 4-day delay in identifying the images has been put down to the vast amount of data collected for analysis. The reasoning may be entirely plausible, but it is a delay nevertheless.
The first round of searching for 7 or 8 days, they said it was in the South China Sea. That took a long time. But eventually, they said it went west. They lost the best searching time. It's like killing people. It's like murder.
Next, in part 2, did the Malaysian authorities ignore crucial advice suggesting where flight MH370 could be?
The I-3 satellites, which picked up a series of pings from aircraft which was identified as the Malaysian missing aircraft. And that meant that the aircraft was both powered up and moving away from its final known position.
And did this delay impact on the search for the passengers and crew on board the missing airliner? The search for flight MH370 is now focused deep in the southern Indian Ocean. But is this where investigators should have concentrated their efforts much sooner after the plane's disappearance? Satellite company Inmarsat says it gave the Malaysian authorities information about the missing jet's possible location last Tuesday, suggesting the plane was veering westward, away from Beijing, the original destination.
The I3 satellites, which picked up a series of pings from aircraft which was identified as the Malaysian missing aircraft. And that meant that the aircraft was both powered up and moving away from its final known position.
But the Malaysian authorities appeared to have discarded the information and carried on looking in areas where the plane could not have been.
We can't criticise the Malaysian approach to this. This is a very difficult time for them. We provided an approach to be looked at on the Tuesday. I'm sure it was considered along with all the massive other data. They would have had to rule out information from the air defence of many countries to the north. They would have had to take into account all of the ships in the area and other aircraft in the area. So they must have been mining through a wealth of data before they could come to a conclusion.
Later, after analysing this and other data, the search was constricted to two possible flight paths, the northern and southern corridor. The Malaysians today rejected accusations of a costly delay.
I would like to briefly discuss the processing of the Inmarsat data. The investigations team received the complete raw Inmarsat satellite data, which included the 6 handshakes, at approximately 1500 on Wednesday, 12th of March. This type of data is not normally used in investigation of this sort. It is only because we have so little other information to go on in this difficult and unprecedented situation that the data is being used.
So now, after almost 2 weeks, the search has clear direction. But a second day has yielded nothing but frustration. The hopes raised by the possibility of finding the suspect debris is now tempered with reality. The odds are stacked against the crews. This is difficult water. It's hard to reach and even harder to search.
Here we've got some of the strongest currents in the world, the Southern Ocean current, which is whizzing around the Antarctic. We've also got some of the roughest seas in the world. Sooner or later, that debris is likely to sink, so it won't stay on the surface forever. And this is the race now to see if one can find that debris before it disappears from the surface.
If, and it's a big if, this satellite smudge does turn out to be something significant, the surface search will dive under the water. This is submersible technology that's tried and tested. This American team, if engaged, has 2 underwater drones that can dive as deep as 6,000 meters. They work in tandem, scanning the floor in a lawnmower pattern, 10 meters one way, 10 meters back.
It will go down a row, it will turn and come back down again on the other side. What it's doing is the side scan is running, and it looks out and is getting returns back from primarily hard objects that are on the bottom. All the rows in the mission are put together and created a mosaic, and you can look at that and get an overall view of the bottom and what is there.
They were used in the search for the wreckage of Air France 447, which crashed off the coast of Brazil in 2009. Even then, with a rough location to work in, finding it took some time, well over a year. This scan eventually led them to it. If the wreckage is located, investigators will carry on searching for this, the plane's black box. This unassuming metal case holds the plane's secrets, everything air crash investigators need to know about MH370's flight since taking off from Kuala Lumpur on March the 8th.
There are 2 of them. One of them is a flight data recorder. That records pretty much everything that's going on with the aircraft at a given time, recording thousands of parameters on something like a 777, which was the MH370. On that aircraft, there'd be something like 1,400 parameters recorded.
Such as what in later?
Things like what the aircraft's doing in terms of pitch, roll, and its attitude, what the engine thrust is doing, whether seatbelt signs were on and off, what the temperatures were inside the cargo compartment. So a huge
whether or
amount
not
of
there
detail.
was a fire, presumably that would be detected.
Fire warnings, that kind of thing.
Altitude,
speeds. But what it doesn't tell us is the context in how that happened. So it won't tell us what the weather was, for example, and it won't tell us other things like what was going on in the passenger, down in the back with the passengers, for example, whether there was, a kerfuffle or something going on.
So if there was a hijacking, for instance, it may be recorded in movement of the aeroplane, but it wouldn't be recorded as an event. There was a problem in the back or the front.
Absolutely, and that's where maybe the cockpit voice recorder would come in, because that records communications in the flight deck. So there are a series of microphones in the flight deck that record what the pilots are talking to each other about.
And that's running all the time?
It is. From engine start to engine shutdown, those recorders are running.
As the days go by without sign of the plane or a clue as to its whereabouts, the uncertainty is becoming unbearable for the waiting families. We have also learned more about the missing passengers, the personal stories of flight MH370. The youngest passenger is 2 years old, the oldest 76. 7 of them are children yet to reach their 5th birthdays. 26-year-old Yu Wen-Chao is originally from Mongolia. He moved to study business at Hull University in England. He went back to see his girlfriend. Mukdesh Mukherjee and his wife, Xiaomo Bei, had been on a beach holiday together in Vietnam. Their 2 young sons are waiting for them at home. Could the flight manifest hold the answers? Investigators are scrutinizing every name on it. They say they still haven't received details for each passenger after all this time.
The passenger manifest is obviously very important. It enables you to identify all the persons that are on board the aircraft, and that obviously is important for the security of the aircraft.
15 different nationalities were flying to Beijing that night, among them 153 from China, 38 from Malaysia, 5 from India, 4 French, 3 from the United States. 2 Iranians on board became initial suspects, but seemed to have been ruled out. 35-year-old Zhu Kung is a stuntman who was due to start work on a new series for Netflix in Malaysia next week. He was on his way to Beijing to see his 2 young children. Bob and Kathy Lawton are from Springfield Lakes in Australia. They have 3 daughters, and they're described as doting grandparents. Whatever the fate of flight MH370, the pilots will have played some role. 53-year-old Zahari Ahmed Shah was the captain that evening. He's a vastly experienced pilot with more than 18,500 flying hours under his belt.
I was a volunteer in the community program that I organized. At the end of the program, there was this guy helping to stack chairs to clean up that place. And not having met him before, I asked, who is this man? And I was told he works for Malaysia Airlines. I went to say thank you to him, and he introduced himself, giving me his name card. And when I saw he was a captain of a 777, that's the kind of humble person that Captain Zahari is.
The first officer was Farik Abdul Hamid. He's 27 years old and joined Malaysia Airlines in 2007. He was fairly new to this model of aircraft, a Boeing 777-200. CCTV shows the 2 men going through security on their way to boarding the flight that evening. We're told they did not specifically request to fly together. Police have started searching their homes, talking to friends and neighbours. They found this simulator in Captain Zahari's house. Investigators say that some data on it has been deleted. This mystery began with what should have been a routine flight. Now the search is focused thousands of miles to the south of its original flight path. 2 unidentified pieces floating in the southern Indian Ocean. Wreckage from flight MH370, or yet another false lead in an aviation mystery that refuses to yield answers. And if this is wreckage from the flight, it will explain the where. But how long before the world learns for sure why a plane carrying 239 lives never reached its destination?